This morning. It is chilly, it might still be wet, so we appreciate it. Whoever is going to need translation services, si necesitan los servicios de traducción en español, por favor agarren un iPad con sus headphones, con sus audífonos. Tenemos al señor Samaniego traduciendo esta junta, acá está en la esquina. Si necesitan la traducción en español, agarren un iPad y los audífonos, por favor. Así nos ayuda a mover las cosas más rápido. Gracias. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Well, as you know, as I've been introduced a couple of times, my name is Mrs. Harlan, the community school coordinator. I will be helping to host the meeting today. Mr. Villarreal and some of our admin team is up in Sacramento learning everything that there is to learn about charter schools. To see what more and how much better we can get. So they are out this week and Mr. Gordillo and I will be facilitating the meeting today. Here is. So hopefully you've settled down, you've gotten some breakfast. Today we're going to be focusing on two things. We're going to be focusing on restorative practices. And I'll tell you a little bit about why and what that looks like. And we have a guest speaker today, and I'll introduce him shortly. And we're also going to be talking about our Dual Immersion Program. Please make sure that you've signed in, that you have a raffle ticket for later, and that you have your Feaster loyalty card. If you did not get it stamped, please see Ms. Ibarra in the back to get it stamped. Everybody should have received that stamp. Okay, I'm going to start with a little bit about our community school strategy and why restorative practices came into play this past year. Community schools is based off of 5 capacity building strategies. What the state tells us is that if we are able to achieve these 5 strategies on our campus, we are doing everything that we can for our community and for our students to be successful. And so we focus on these things throughout the year. We have different goals that we review and come up with a team. And today for restorative practices fits into 2 of these strategies. The first is centering community-based learning. And what that means is the way that we relate to one another, the way that we build relationships with one another matter in education. They matter for how our students learn. And so it is important that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that we have a relationship, a positive relationship with our parents and our students to give them the best chance at success. And the second strategy that we're focusing on today is strategic community partnerships. The realization that we cannot do it alone. I am an expert in one field, not in every field. He is an expert in one field, not in every field. And so we depend on our community partners and those experts outside of the school to help us. So this year, and moving forward, we are partnering with Building Restorative Communities. Our founder and CEO is Anthony Ceja. He's right over here. A round of applause for Anthony. He worked for the San Diego County Office of Ed for how many years? For 26 years, retired last year. And after having been trained with him a couple of years and a couple of times, I said, Anthony, I need you to come to Feaster. We need your expertise for our kiddos. They deserve it. And so we partnered with Anthony and his company to make sure that our restorative practices are effective and are working and are doing what they're intended to do. So with that said, I'd like to introduce restorative justice practices here at Feaster.
Thank you very much for having me. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Thank you. And as we're going through this short presentation, if you have questions or comments, please just raise your hand. I welcome your comments, and that's part of the community. The restorative practices really honors the wisdom of the community, meaning the parents, the children, they have wisdom in them too, right? Obviously, the school staff, we make up a community. So we'll be talking about that. My email address is that very long email address right there, Anthony Ceja at buildingrestorativecommunities.com. They have my contact information. If you ever want to contact me, please, I understand Spanish as well, so please send me an email. I'll be happy to get back to you. So one of the things that we like to do is what's called a moment of mindfulness, meaning to bring us to center us to be present here. And the way that we do that is as humble people, and we're trying to teach our children this too, to stay humble, to honor your ancestors, right? The people, your parents, your grandparents, the people that fought for you to have a better life. We want to do that. So I want to take a moment with you, and I know it's okay, you're eating, but just to take a moment to honor our ancestors, the ones who worked hard so that we could be here today. Now, I'm not saying that all of our ancestors were perfect or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, most of the time, all of the parents that I've spoken to, they've always wanted their children to have a better life, right? So that's what I'm talking about, people that maybe worked so that you could have a better life. So if you would, even, don't worry if you're eating, but just kind of take a moment to kind of like take a few breaths, right? Just take a few breaths and remember those who went before us, those who we're grateful for. Usually as humble people, we're grateful for the people that work for us. So if you would, just do that with me. So what this does is it helps us to center ourselves and to recognize that everybody in this room have people that we have depended on, our ancestors, right? None of us were just plopped onto the earth, right? We came through our mother. Hopefully, we were blessed to have both of our parents working for us, and hopefully they taught us some values. And sometimes what happened is, like, some of us were, our grandparents were very central. They were very central in raising us, passing on values to us. So what we're trying to teach to our children is to stay humble and to recognize that we have commonalities in our humanity, right? That we're not better, no one here is better than anybody else. Right? It doesn't matter like, oh, I have this, this so much education or none of that matters when it comes down to what's called human dignity, right? We all have equal human dignity, and we're trying to teach our young people to treat each other with that same human dignity. Treat people the way that you want to be treated, right? With respect, with kindness. And so when we came up with some community agreements with the staff here at Feaster, and by the way, I sent my children to charter school as well. Because my wife and I had decided we wanted to choose the way our children were going to be educated, because they're here for several hours, right? And we're instilling those values that are important to us as parents. So we made that choice as well, just like you did. And I've been doing some trainings with the staff here at Feaster, and I asked them, would you come up with some community agreements, meaning the way that you want to treat each other as staff? And this is what they came up with. And it says confidentiality, everybody has a chance to participate, actively listen to each other, treat others the way you want to be treated, minimize electronic use during the conversation, ask questions, stay curious, Intentionally make connections by validating each other. Reflect back what you heard. Be supportive. Say things like, I'm here for you. Have open body language. Be authentic. Before offering advice, ask if the person wants feedback. Be aware of cultural differences. Be patient. Mean what you say and say what you mean. Now, this is what the staff decided that was important to them in the way that they were going to treat each other. Right? And these are good things to do. What we're encouraging is for every classroom to make sure that they listen to their children and begin to ask their children, what's important to you about the way we should treat each other? And I know this is difficult for maybe some of you, but we also encourage our families at home to come up with some agreements with the voice of their own children to say, what's important to you about the way we should treat each other? Because here at Feaster, we believe in the empowerment of our young people's voices, that they should be involved from very young in what we expect of each other. And now, I want you to begin to think of what's important for you in your home about the way we should treat each other. Now, some of the things that may come to mind for you are right up here, right? About treat others the way you want to be treated. And as parents, we try to model that. Right? Like, and I raised two children as well, and they went through, like I said, charter schools. And I know the challenges of being a parent and trying to model the behavior that I want them to, the way I want them to treat each other. As a father, I was always, trying to model that, like that patience. Up here, somebody put patience. Right? And like really, listening and asking questions of my children, right? Rather than me pretending like I knew everything, I said, okay, let me ask them questions so that they know that I value what they're thinking as well. So you may want to come up with a list of agreements in your own home. Now, and I would even say, put them up, maybe in Spanish and English. I mean, this is a, kind of like a bilingual school. So why not put them up in Spanish and English if you can? And then refer to those. Because what's going to happen is we're human beings, and sometimes children or us are not necessarily going to follow one of those agreements. But then what we do is we try to hold each other accountable with kindness. That's right. So rather than me say something like to a child, oh, that was pretty stupid. You didn't do that right. I mean, that's the opposite of what I want to try to model for them. What I say is do you remember we agreed? And I point to the agreement. Do you remember that we agreed to follow these? Now, what do I need to do to help you to do better at this next time? Right? So I try to point to the fact that I honor their voice and that my voice is up here as well. So as a parent, it was important for me that my children remain honest. And that they would admit when they did something wrong. Right? So I wanted them to know that even though I'm bigger than you and I'm more powerful than you, you can come to me and be honest and admit when you did something wrong. And I'm not going to when you do that, what's going to be waiting for you is not some kind of violence. Right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to use every opportunity to teach you how to do it better next time. And I'm going to let you know, though, there are consequences when you are not following our agreements. That's the way it works in community. There's consequences to that. But the consequences should always be about teaching them the lessons that I want to teach them. Right? I don't want my child to be afraid to come to their father. Especially when there's a problem. Right? I want them to know you can come to me, you can be open with me as your father and as a man, and I want to model for you the kind of communication that I want you to have with other people. So think about trying to develop something like this, because this is what we're developing at Feaster, agreements with the voice of our young people involved. And so what I want you to do is, we're doing this as well in many of the classrooms. We're doing this with our children. When they're at the school, we're doing what's called a check-in. A check-in just means this. We ask your children, and it doesn't have to be exactly like this, and this is just an example, but we ask your children today, how are you feeling today on a 1 through 10 number scale? Meaning 1 would mean you feel awful, 10 would mean you feel awesome. So we ask your children that because how they feel is a part of them. And we want your children to know this. We embrace you however you're feeling when you come to school today. Even if you're feeling like a 1 or a 2 and you're saying, I'm tired, I don't want to be here today, we say this, thank you for being authentic with us. And we will do whatever we can to help you and support you to be successful. Even when you're tired, even when you're not feeling really good, we say we're committed to your children, however they come every day to the school. That's important, because we want children, when they come here, to know you can come to whichever staff person is on the school site, you can come to them and you can be honest, you can be authentic, and we will embrace you, but we will help you in whatever we can to help you to become successful today. And if you're feeling like a 10, if your children will come in sometimes, I'm feeling like a 10 or a 9, we're like, good. But we don't stop there. We ask those children, would you be willing to support your friends who maybe are feeling lower today? Because tomorrow you might be feeling like a 1 or a 2, right? And that's called that mutual help, mutual support. Right, and so that's what we call, like when you heard Ms. Carena talking about community schools. Healthy communities are about mutual support, right? That's what they're really trying to build in this school community. So, let me just ask you, think about how you're feeling on a 1 through 10 today, right? And let's just think about it. Be honest. How are you feeling today on a 1 through 10? And then I want you, just with maybe your neighbors here, just people nearby, to honestly say, I'm like, for example, today I'm feeling about an 8, maybe an 8.5. I'm feeling pretty good. And I'm happy to be here. But I want you to just share with your neighbor just for a moment, like, hey, this is the number I'm feeling like today. Okay, go ahead. And you can do it in English and Spanish. How are you? Okay, thank you everybody for doing that. Thank you for checking in. Now, what you did, I just wanted to show you, this is what we're asking your children to do. And by the way, you can do this at home. You can ask your children, even in the morning, you can say, hey, how are you doing? You can do 1 through 5 or 1 through 10, whatever is good for you. You can ask them, how are you feeling after, maybe they're having a little breakfast, you know, before they leave, or you're getting them ready. How are you feeling today? And see, you can respond as well. You can say, hey, however you're feeling, 3, it's okay, right? You're feeling like an 8 or a 10, it's good. And as parents, what we say is, we're gonna help you, we're gonna support you so you can be successful today. Because sometimes our kids will say, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to go to school. And we say, it's okay, we understand that. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I don't want to go to work, but I go, right? Yeah, sometimes it's hard to wake up, but we wake up, why? Because we know that our children are dependent on us. We're trying to teach them. This is called work ethic, right? We get up and we help our children get to school, and our kids are going, well, sometimes I don't want to go to school. It's like, it's okay. Sometimes I don't want to go to work, right? But we go for the sake of our family, and we're trying to teach them. This is what we want you to learn. We don't just go by our feelings like, oh, I don't feel like going to work today, or I don't feel like helping my kids today, you know? What would happen if this mother said, oh, I'm just too tired, I don't want to help my baby? What? She'd never think of that. She knows how to work through tiredness. Through when she's sick, she doesn't say, well, I need a day off from my kid. No, right? We love, and we're trying to teach the kids, this is how we love, how we serve, even when we're tired, right? We're trying to teach them that. Now, it might be good for you at dinner time to also do a check-in with your children, to say something like, hey, how are you feeling today? How was school? How did things go? 1 through 10. They may say, oh, I had a bad day. It was like a 2 or a 3. And you ask, well, what happened? Oh, my friend didn't treat me well. They didn't let me play with them, you know, and then it's not for you to try to fix all their problems, but for them to know this. However you're feeling, you will embrace them. Just as they are. Right? This is not a perfect school. There's going to be problems, but we're going to embrace the children just as they are. And you say, it's okay, don't worry. Maybe tomorrow will be better, but I want you to know this. I will support you to be successful. Right? And I will support you in this home, and I will support you, and I will, and that, by the way, I want to first of all congratulate you that you're even here, because this tells me these are parents who love their children. You wouldn't be here if you didn't love your children. You care, right? Yeah, you truly care. This is the type, this is the type of community I wanted my children to go and be a part of, where parents truly care. Because we know this, when parents care, it translates into student achievement. Right? We know this from our research. When parents are engaged and they care and they show that they care, children achieve better in school. Everywhere. We've done the research. So you are the ones, you're like a foundation of this school. You show the community, hey, we're not giving up. We may have challenges, but we're not giving up. So we're trying to restore a sense of hope, importance, and belonging through these kinds of practices that honor and value those we serve. So we're teaching the teachers to make sure that every day your children come here, that by the way they greet them, by the way they teach them, by the way they respond when there's issues, we want to show them, we want to show your children that we honor them and we value them and they belong here. They're important members of this school community. That has to be done in every interaction. And I know it's hard. And by the way, as parents, we try to do that for our children as well. right? We honor them and we value them, even when we're holding them accountable when they've done something wrong. We show them, I still care about you, I still love you, but I'm gonna hold you accountable. Right? You did something and there's gonna be consequences to it. Still love you. You're not a bad person. Right? You're not dumb or stupid or anything like, hey, we're going to keep holding you accountable with love. And that's what we're trying to teach here at Feaster. So this is a graphic that you can see. It has these words to, with, not, and for. And the blue section that you see, I'm sorry, right there, the blue section that you see, that is actually, uh-oh, I think I'm doing something wrong. Uh-oh. Yeah, hopefully, I know, she is, fortunately, you have somebody who's a staff person that knows technology. Thank you. Oh, I see, that's the way it is. That's the way that is. Gracias. Okay, so what we're saying is that we want to hold our children to a high standard at the school. That's what this arrow up here means. Now, this arrow on the bottom means if I'm going to hold your children to a high standard, I have to, as staff here, provide high support. So I can't expect your children to do something, a standard, that we haven't provided them the support to get there, right? That would be irresponsible of me to ask your children to do something that we haven't supported them. So what we say at this school is we're going to provide all the supports, the student supports, so they can reach the high standards that we're asking. And we say that at home, if your children are not reaching your standards, a standard that you have for them for behavior or whatever that be, please provide them the supports that they need to learn those standards. Like, so for example, if your child is not behaving exactly the way you want them to, then sit down with them and explain the importance of it. And you can even practice some of that behavior that you want to see. You want to practice it with your children, because what we say is if you don't practice, people will not improve. So you have to provide the opportunity to practice. And then I wanted to show you this right here. And I think before I do that, I wanted you to think about this. Was there a person in your life when either you went to school or somebody that was a boss or somebody that was a person in authority that really treated you with a high standard, but they also provided you the support to reach that high standard? Think about it. Was there a parent or somebody that raised you that you feel like, you know what? They always held me to a high standard, but they provided me the support to reach that standard. They didn't ask me to do something that I wasn't able to do. They asked me to do things that they were willing to support me to do. Right? So think about that. That's what we're trying to be today for our own children. And we know that sometimes our children are what we call triggered, meaning they get hurt by their feelings get hurt. They feel like something's wrong. I don't know what to do in this situation. I feel bad. When they feel that way, sometimes what they will do is they will withdraw, they'll avoid, they'll attack others, or they'll attack themselves. And when we see this in the school, sometimes your own children, when they get in trouble, when they get caught doing something wrong, they'll end up in the office or the teacher will try to talk to them and they'll just be quiet. They'll just withdraw. They'll be there physically, but they won't engage in the conversation. Or they just try to not go to the meeting or something like that. So they're avoiding, they're withdrawing, but sometimes they go on the attack They don't know what to do with this uncomfortable feeling in here, so they'll start blaming other people and doing things like that. And sometimes we hear them say things like this. They'll attack themselves and they'll say, yeah, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm a bad kid. And we never want to see that, right? We want the children to understand it's okay. We're going to have times that we're uncomfortable in life. And you can come to us. You can be honest with us. And we're going to work through it with you. You don't have to avoid us. You don't have to withdraw. You don't have to go on the attack of others or yourself. In this school, you come to us and we will help you through it. And we want that same attitude to be happening at home. Even though it's hard, because we get frustrated, just like I have as a parent. I got frustrated at times, but I say, you know what? I'm going to try to be the bigger person. I'm going to try to teach my children, even in this moment when I'm frustrated. And that's what the Feaster staff are trying their best to do. So, when you are going through a difficult time, I want you to think about, like, you know, have you ever gone through a really difficult time where you felt like betrayed, where you felt somebody lied about you, somebody hurt your feelings? You know, when you were going through that feeling and you go to somebody, let's say you go to somebody that you trust, a friend, maybe you go to a friend and what's the best way that that friend can help you than to be able to think better, to think more clearly, make better decisions? I want you to think about that. What's the best thing if I was going to go and talk to my friend and I'm saying, oh, this is happening and well, this, you know, I'm feeling really hurt. What's the best thing that she can do for me? So listen, right? Don't judge me, right? Don't judge and support me and acknowledge my feelings. Maybe I'm angry, maybe I'm fearful. So she acknowledges all that. She's not giving me advice yet, right? She's just listening to me. And then I begin to feel better. I feel a little bit more calm and I can start to think more clearly. That's what our children need in those difficult times. They need us as parents to be that good listener. Don't judge them in the beginning. Don't start yelling at them because they'll shut down. Listen to them. And even if you feel like, oh, that situation, they shouldn't be afraid. You say, wow, it sounds like you're really afraid. I'm sorry that you're feeling that bad, but I got your back. I'm with you. I'm your parent. I will never let you down. Right? Yeah, it is hard. And your friends may let you down. Your teacher may let you down. I won't let you down. Okay? I got you. But it's okay. You can come to me. I'm going to acknowledge how you're feeling. I'm going to listen to you. And then I might ask you questions like, what do you think you can do to make the situation better? Make them think. Don't just give them all the answers. Make your children think. What can you do to make this better? I shouldn't just always go in as a parent and rescue my child. I want them to become what? Adults at some point. That they're empowered human beings to make choices. So we're trying to ask these questions. I'm gonna kind of show you these restorative questions here. A lot of times when your children are going through difficult things, maybe they were harmed at school or they did harm, right? They weren't perfect. We ask them these questions. From your point of view, what happened? We just ask them, hey, tell us what happened. And then we ask them, what were you thinking and feeling at the time that happened? And then we say, how have you and others been affected by what happened and maybe by what you did? And what are you feeling now? And then we ask them this, what would make the situation as right as possible? So we ask your children to go through a process of thinking, because we believe that if we can instill this into your own children to take responsibility for what they did and to think about what do they need to make this as right as possible. Even if one of the children out here disrespected one of your children, we ask them, what do you need to make this better? Maybe they just need an apology. Maybe they feel like they're unsafe and they need to have a conversation with that child. Right? Then the staff here are trained to hold what we call circle conversations, where children will talk to children, but first we ask them to answer these questions, and then we have them answer the questions in front of the other children who they harmed or who were harmed by them, so that they can know this. We can resolve problems here at Feaster. You don't have to run away from them. You don't have to just be quiet, or you don't have to go and hurt people, right? In reaction to being harmed. You can actually learn to think about it, talk about it, and resolve your own problems through conversation, right? Through listening to each other. Now, this is hard. This is hard work, but you have staff here who are trained in this. And they do this every day. And I've come here to watch them, and they do it well, okay? So this is a school that really helps your children go through this process. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. And I want to say, I give a lot of respect to the staff at this school for doing this work. So I wanted you to think about, just as we end right now, because this is the closing, I wanted you to think, what's one thing that you appreciate about being a part of Feaster, about this community? What's one thing that you appreciate for being a part of this community, whether it's the parents here, the staff, the way they have things here? And just kind of like, for maybe just 30 seconds, talk to your neighbor for a moment and just tell them one thing that you appreciate, okay? Go ahead. Communication here. And just tell each other. Okay, everybody. So again, I thank you, everybody, for being so engaged and listening so well. I really appreciate you all. I appreciate the partnership that I have. That's what, you know, I really value this school and what they do. I value you as parents. I value my colleagues and everything that they're doing. I know they work hard. I've been here. I watch them. I see how they meet with parents, with their colleagues, with the children. They problem solve. So you have a treasure here, and yeah, let's always appreciate that. Thank you.
Si gustan tomar el correo electrónico, pueden tomarle foto. Como les digo, estamos trabajando con Anthony. We're working with Anthony over the next few years to make sure that our discipline structures and our restorative practices are really solid on our campus, and working with your kids to see the humanity of everyone. So thank you for that message, and thank you for your time today, Anthony. We're going to transition now into our DI program, presented by Mr. Gordillo.
Buenos días, vamos a ser cortos con esto, va a ser una sesión de información. Sorry, I know that Mr. Salamigo is translating as well. But referring back to Mr. Ceja, and one of the points that he made is valuing everyone's humanity. And part of that is valuing everyone for the individual that they are. You know, so having this opportunity here at Feaster for our dual language program is so essential for the kids here at Feaster. It's one of many programs that we offer, and it's very important that we all know about it. Again, if your child is not in the DI program, we encourage you to look into it. If they're not going to join the DI program, what we encourage you is to keep the heritage alive. Como hablamos desde un principio, aunque no sean parte del programa de doble inmersión, si quieren seguir parte del programa de inglés, seguramente está súper bien, pero nunca olviden su herencia, nunca olviden su idioma, su cultura, que es muy importante, y como dice nuestro Ceja, es una de las cosas que más valuamos en esta escuela, en esta comunidad. Okay, so we'll just go over a couple of things in DI. We have our DI program that starts in TK and goes all the way through 8th grade. It's okay. So it goes, it starts at TK for students. All TK students will have the opportunity to try out the program. If you wish to continue, you don't need to do anything. Those students in TK will continue into kindergarten automatic. Okay, now if you have a student who is a little older, we do ask you to put in a DI interest form. With that, we will pull your student to be able to assess them to see if they're a good candidate and a good fit for the program. Again, it's not that they wouldn't fit, but we don't want to make things complicated for students that are in the upper grades to go into a program that is of dual immersion. Now, the program is taught in 2 or more languages. In our school, it is 2 languages. I'm gonna skip through a lot of the slides because we only have about 10 minutes. And so I just want to talk a little bit about that. It is an English and Spanish dual language program. 50% of the day they'll be learning in English, 50% of the day they'll be learning in Spanish, and they will switch in the middle of the day. English is English language arts, writing is in English, also mathematics and science is in English. In Spanish, what we focus on is Spanish language arts. Also, the writing component is in Spanish. The teachers work together, so they're not teaching the same thing or the same concepts. They're teaching the same skills in a different language. And science is also taught, science is also taught in Spanish. Again, as a part of our program is a dual immersion program, which means that we're adding that second language, whether they're a native Spanish speaker or a native English speaker, we're using their skills to learn from each other. The teacher is teaching direct lessons. However, the students are interacting in the language that they feel most comfortable with, while encouraging that practice in the language that they're learning. Go to the next slide. I had it, that's why. This doesn't do it.
Sorry. We're trying something new so that you can see on the TV, but we have to set it up one very specific way, otherwise it all.
All right, as part of the dual language program here at school, we do disclose that this is part of a law or proposition that came into California in 2016 to offer a dual language program at a school if the parents request it. So this is something that we've started for a number of years, and we're continuing the practice. We also know that it's one of our most popular programs, and we have students coming in from all over the district. One of the things that we do want to point out is that even though we're a neighborhood school, and as Ms. Haro had mentioned, we're a community school, which we're building on, we're also a county-wide school of choice. And what that means is that you don't need to live in the neighborhood to be a part of our school. As long as you are a resident of San Diego County, then you are allowed to come in and request to be a part of Feaster. So as I mentioned, there are several models of a dual language program. For us at Feaster, we follow the 50-50 model here, which is again, 50% of the day is in English, 50% of the day is in Spanish. There are multiple schools in Chula Vista Elementary School District who follow either the 90-10 model, where it decreases the language, the target language, and then makes it to a 50-50 model in the 5th, 6th grade. But our motto is, again, using the assets that we have in our community to be able to bring other students to match them up in each classroom at a 50-50 rate. All right, so some of the benefits, as we know, linguistically, they'll be able to develop the language ability, the proficiency in both languages. It helps us promote cultural pluralism inside and outside. We learn about different cultures. And as future citizens, they are academically and linguistically. What does that mean? That it's not just speaking the language, but being able to learn in the other language as well. This helps us in a global society. As we know, we are more interconnected today than we ever have been. And so again, some of the advantages is research shows that there is a positive impact in the brain. The brain starts to develop neural senses that start increasing that brain activity. The problem-solving skills, the critical thinking skills are more apt to happen in a bilingual brain, as well as research is showing that bilingual students, multilingual students have a better outcome when it comes to states testing, with the ability to think critically through any situation. Again, the educational advantage, not only are they learning a language, but they're also learning a content area, mathematics and English, science and Spanish. There's an economic edge to it, increased job opportunities. When you are a person who is bilingual, you go to the top of the list when getting hired in any field. And the health benefits, again, the delayed onset of dementia and Alzheimer's disease is something that they are researching and finding that is helping. Again, it develops that critical thinking, so the brain is developing throughout their lives. The three overarching goals of dual language is bilingualism and biliteracy, that's being able to communicate with another person in English and Spanish. Also, the grade level academic achievement means that we are learning in English and in Spanish in each of the content areas, language arts, writing, science, math, and so forth. And the social cultural competency, this also gets exhibited at our school in our Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month. We explore all cultures, Latin American-based cultures, historical figures. So there's a lot of opportunities to learn about people here, as well as throughout any Spanish-speaking communities. We'll skip that. We talked about that a little bit. Again, enrollment did open February 12th. So enrollment has now been open. If you hear or any family members hear about, a possibility of coming to Feaster, we encourage you to come into the office. There is registration still available. We are offering also, again, the TK Kinder preschool, not preschool, but before school starts experience, where they are able to participate in school type activities, exposing them to that the week before all students return. So that is a TK, and new kinder students are offered the opportunity to come experience, come to school, learn school strategies, school procedures. And what we found is that students are less scared, if you will. There's less criers on day one because they were able to experiencing without all the other 1,100 students at school. Exiting our dual language program. If you are currently in the program, we encourage you to talk to your teacher about it. I'll set up a conference with you as well to find out what any core issues are to help support through that process. We understand it may not be for everyone, and you may be interested in having your child exit. So there is a process for that. We can't just say, oh, well, I don't want them to go back to the program tomorrow. There is a process because we want to be able to, again, work through those issues. Students do start showing signs of that in 3rd grade. However, we do want to explain it is a rigorous program, and we start seeing that proficiency and fluency in 5th and 6th grade. So it is a long-term commitment. And some of the parent commitments, again, the dual language commitment form. Again, attendance is crucial. If they're not here, they can't learn. They're missing out on crucial instruction. Combination classes, which could be a 4-5 combo, could be a 5-6 combo. That kind of thing happens, especially with the numbers that we have. And then our commitment to staying in DI while at Feaster Charter. This year, we are moving into the 8th grade, so students have the opportunity to go from TK all the way through 8th grade in search of that seal by literacy that California offers. And so we're able to offer that now as well, all the way through the middle school. These are some frequently asked questions. Ms. Gallion will post the entire presentation up for you to review at your leisure. And if there's any other questions, we kept it short, simple, sweet. We thank you for being here, and I will hand the mic over to Ms. Harrell.
Get a question, to enroll the students in the DI program, what's the first step?
So first up, MPTO also has opportunities if you'd like some support. It is a digital process, so you go online and register, and then there would be several others, steps along the way to be able to, show that you are interested in the dual language program. It's called the DI interest form.
The DI interest form is available in the front office. So, yeah. If you haven't heard about it, if you haven't thought about it, you can ask questions. Dual Immersion is one of our standout programs. Our kids are very successful in DI usually, so, yes.
Was it good changes you guys did for the TK picture, your straight pickup? Are you guys gonna change it starting next year? Like, what is it looking like? Because I noticed that my main concern is, like yesterday, TK, they're little, they have to jump the puddles. I didn't notice my son's shoes were supposed to be different, right? Is there anything alternative that you guys could do when it rains, like to pick them up from here, instead of picking them up from where they're getting?
So I do want to address that because that has been a question that's been lingering since we did it in December. It is feedback we're taking back from families. If you've ever been out there and you see, it's managed chaos is what we call it, because it's traffic, it's working with people's personalities, they're running late, they've been in line. And so we're working with every mechanism. We started off on this side to start picking up, and that added to the rest of the school. So we've been making changes. Anything that you have to share with us, share it with your teacher, share it with the office, send us a message.
My
What-
biggest concern is, I'd rather you guys establish something at the beginning.
Right. Right.
And he could have brought it up during the meeting,
Right.
and the next day they emailed, hey, when you guys come back from the 3-day,
Yeah.
4-day weekend, you guys are having another meeting.
Right, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get as much work with the system as it is. We've contacted CDPD SROs to come help us look at kind of the traffic flows. Ms. Ana Mercado out there with all the notarities are out there trying to help all of those things when making the change. You're saying,
Don't make changes 3 more times
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah.
Establish something that will, like, that will make it work throughout the whole year.
I do, right. And I do want to share with you that one of the biggest impacts was district-wide. They were going close campus, so we had to make those changes in the middle.
That experience is picking up my son.
Right.
Because I was like, I'm giving it a try. There's
Right.
a lot of parents going in. Any person can take their kid. The teachers are literally, I think like that. They find contact with the teachers, so they're thinking. She didn't turn around.
Yeah.
I told him, tell her again, scream her name. She did not turn around.
Well, definitely, we can address, I can speak to you afterward. I do want to respect everyone else this time, but we can chat afterward and make those changes.
It's not.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, another question?
Also for next year, we're out now, drop off of, like, take over.
So all of the drop off, traffic control, we are making those decisions again, talking about what worked, what didn't work this year, so that starting off next year, we can make those adjustments. Mhm. That's also what we're discussing. I don't want to share something that may change, because again, as your concern was, well, you said this, but we're changing it so that we're using all of the feedback from family, from community, from the police department, from everyone that we're working with, because it's not an easy job, let me tell you. If anyone is also interested in supporting with any volunteer kind of thing to help us with the flow of traffic, more than welcome to come in and talk to us about that. As Mr. Ceja said, it's a collaboration with families, engaging and supporting in the success. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. And for everybody else that might not have heard the questions, it was about the drop off and the pickup for the TK kinder first grade, since that was the biggest change this semester. So if you have any further questions, would you want to Any other questions from restorative practices or from dual immersion or anything else? All right, let's get into our raffle. Oh, before I get into the raffle, parent board nominations are out. If you are interested in being part of our, yes, but part of our Feaster Charter Board de la mesa directiva de Feaster, la nominación está abierta, se cierra hoy a las 5 de la tarde. The forum closes today at 5 p.m. If you ever thought of leadership, if you ever want to learn more about how a charter school works, the board parents join the rest of the team to look at the budget, to look at the plans, to make sure that your voice is heard as a representative for your entire community. If you are interested, please let me know. I can submit a form for you. You can submit a form for yourself. So stay after the meeting if you are interested in learning more. It closes today at 5 o'clock. Okay, and now the raffle. We could do us the honors, Mr. Gordillo, pulling some tickets. Our first ticket is 380-380-380. Muy bien, felicidades, Elsa. The second number is 403-403. Felicidades, Elsa. Tres, siete, siete, tres, siete, siete. Congratulations, please, 7. And the next one is 392. The next one. 390. 390. And the last one is 409. Our next meeting is April 20. Something we will send out the meeting date. Nos vemos en abril para la junta. Los boletitos se pueden tirar en la basura. Gracias a todos. Que tengan buen día.